Good morning, folks. Today is January 5th. It is 11:03 a.m. and this is Coffee with Community Services, Alta California Regional Center's weekly service provider meeting. My name is John Decker. I am the Director of Community Services at Alta California Regional Center. And we, as usual, will do an introduction of staff and go over our agenda for today. So first off, I'll just kind of run through my list here. I see Associate Client Services Director Tracy Brown is on. Good morning, Tracy. From Community Services, I see Ethan and Christy and Adriana, and I see our Housing Specialist Rhonda's on. Good morning. I see Christine Hobbs. Good morning. And Carly, our Employment Specialist, our Intake and Clinical Director, Camelia is on. Good morning. Let's see, I see Alicia and Tom on, and Shauna from Community Services. I see Kylie Draper on, who's going to, I think, talk about HCBS grants a little bit later. Let's see, I see Leah and Beverly, good morning, and Jason, our lead, and Elijah, good morning, and Denise, too. From Community Services, Heidi from Grass Valley, good morning, Heidi. And my assistant Zach is on. Zach, we've been so far apart for so long. I miss you. We gotta, I've been out with the flu, unfortunately, this week, and then Zach was on vacation, and so we have not seen each other in a while. Good to see you, Zach. Let's see, client services managers. I see Delana on. Good morning, Delana, from Community Services. I see Marty is here and Isabella too. Good morning. We have an announcement to make, which is that Scott Barr, our community services QA specialist, has been promoted to being our new quality assurance and compliance manager at Alta. So Alta is growing and growing. You will find out that we have in our next newsletter, just the amount of new vendorizations that we are doing at our regional center. And part of the change of doing that means that we need to look at how we can expand within our agency, and what we are looking at is separating some of the duties out for our community services specialists. So we will have a quality assurance unit that is going to be focusing on a lot of the quality assurance activities at our agency. And then we are going to have our community services units that focus a lot on the resource development side of things. We have to keep up with just this crush of new applicants that we have that are coming through. So Scott, let me have you unmute yourself real quick, and maybe you can introduce yourself to some folks that maybe aren't familiar with you. We've got 72 folks on right now.
Right on. Well, I want to say thank you. I'm humbled to have this opportunity. I feel like it's been something I've been working towards for my entire career. I've got a brother with special needs, so I've lived a lifetime of this industry, and I love it. And I've got a passion for ensuring that our vendors are working the way that they're supposed to and in compliance. So it feels like a great match to me. I'm really happy to be here and look forward to everything that comes next.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And again, congratulations, Scott. Scott will be moving into his new role in the next couple weeks, and then we'll be transitioning some of the staff underneath him about a month or so after that, as we kind of move things around a little bit, again, in order to be able to accommodate just the growth of our agency. Again, many of you are aware we're growing at about, I think, Camellia, the number is around 1,200 new clients net annually at our regional center. That might even be a little bit low. And so that's a very large number of resources to also keep up with as well, to ensure that all those people have resources. So I think this is going to impact things significantly in helping us. And we're very happy to have Scott. I certainly had the pleasure of working with Scott before he came to Alta, when he was the executive director with ResCare, and have certainly with first, I think, Olivia, and then Michelle Duchesne has really enjoyed supervising Scott. So congratulations to Scott. Speaking of Michelle Duchesne, she's going to have a big part of our agenda today. But let me go over what we're going to be talking about here. And I think Helen and Jordan may be on here as well, too. So we are going to be talking about the DSP bilingual pay. We're going to talk about the DSP initiatives a little bit, the DDS DSP workforce initiatives. So we're going to talk a little bit about bilingual pay, give you an update on that. I think we mentioned previously that we were piloting that. Michelle's going to give an update on the DSP stipend. We are going to talk about the ILS rate changes. Those of you that are ILS providers, you're going to be seeing rate changes in the upcoming month, and so we're going to share about that so you are all aware. We are going to have, I believe, Kylie talking about the HCBS grant, and then I think Alicia is going to be talking about PEC's program, and I saw Carol on here, so maybe Carol might be weighing in on that as well. And we have Jordan's going to be talking about the EBSH CCH vendor forum. We have I wanted to update things on the rate study. Michelle Duchesne's got some information about the biennials. We're going to talk about the upcoming provider advisory committee meeting, and then anything else that folks want to talk about today. So before I jump over to Michelle to give us an update on the DSP stipend, let me first just talk about the DSP bilingual pay. So again, many of you are aware that this is something that's been in the budget now for a couple years, and it's finally being operationalized. We were able to do a pilot of this for the month of December with the STEP agency. They have a lot of signing staff, so it was very easy for us to be able to run a pilot for their bilingual group. I believe we had 75 staff that were able to participate in it, and we were able to get all of those processed within the 1 month time period. So when this gets rolled out, which hopefully will be in the next few months as we iron out some bugs with DDS, you will be submitting the information into the regional centers about your bilingual DSP staff, and then we'll be working on creating authorizations for you to be able to bill on those. There's a lot more specifics that we're working out with DDS, but please just know that we are working really hard to make this as easy as a process as possible for you as providers, and certainly for us at the regional center as well, because we want these things to be really well utilized, which means there's a lot of work on the regional center end to process payments and things like that. But we also want for service providers for it not to be too onerous as well. So if there's any questions about that, I would just plan on updating you as a service provider group as we move forward with the DSP bilingual pay stipends. I think that's what they're going to call them. And we'll let you know when there's going to be a wider distribution to our vendors. But I think our accounting department feels very good about our ability to be able to process these once we get going. DSP, just the DSP stipend, training stipend. I will throw that over to Michelle to give you all an update.
Thanks, John. Let me see if I can, I'm not able to share my screen. You can give me that. I wanted to start off and just share a little bit of the overall numbers. Perfect, thank you. Okay, are you seeing that, John, the statewide numbers? Everyone see it? Thumbs up?
Looks good.
Okay, so I just want to, we're getting weekly updates on numbers and the changes. So I just want to share this with everybody. So as of December 28th, we had a total of 34,000, a little over 34,000 DSPs registered. And with 31,789 completing one course and about 28,500 completing the second course. So we will provide these weekly as we get them. So if you look, this is kind of all the regional centers overall. So Alta Regional, we had a 9.7 increase in weekly growth. So that totals 314 additional DSPs with a total of 6,459. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. And we continue to just go ahead. Let me stop sharing really quick. So my team, Raven and Belinda, they're on here. Round of applause to you guys. They're sending out anywhere from 60 to 80 emails daily to our providers, just confirming DSPs and following up with all of your questions that you guys have. Raven and Belinda are the DSP stipend team. So they're working hard. If you guys have any questions for them, they're the ones supporting. So thank you guys for that support. We are just continuing to send those. We just updated the list. We're getting our weekly reports still from DDS. We spoke with accounting this morning, and we are looking at processing an additional 1,200 new payments by the end of the month. So that might grow a little bit as we get these confirmed. But just keep in mind, if you can always ask us if you had some. We're getting these weekly. So if you have had it and it's been a month or so, as far as just sometimes emails get in spam and those kind of things. So we have a DSP stipend at altaregional.org. And I'll put that in the chat if you guys have any questions. But it's moving along. We're growing. It's doing great. So nice work to all vendors too for really sharing with their DSPs and getting them registered. We thank you guys.
I see that. Thank you very much. I see the comment there, Lindsay, in the chat as well as it relates to it. And that certainly came up during our discussion yesterday with the department too about keeping track of your staff that are qualifying for the stipends. They have not necessarily aligned e-billing in such a way to be able to create lists of individuals that have gone through it. But as we move forward with the next phase, which would be the DSP bilingual pay, that is feedback that I know we shared yesterday in the meeting with Vicki Smith and the folks over at DDS. That being said, I just really want to congratulate you all as service providers. You guys are getting your staff trained. Again, there's not a lot of measures out there that show the extent to which, vendors have their staff receiving training other than this. And so it's great having our regional center so far out in front of all the other regional centers when it comes to DSPs being trained. And so I just really want to encourage that and keep it up moving forward. Garrett, yes, please.
Hey, I know that you all are just passing on the names that you get from DDS. We've had a couple of folks who turned in certificates to us where that show that they did both of the courses on the same day. And then we get on our list, they're just listed one time. And so they get the stipend just for one of the two courses they completed. Is that something that we have to take to DDS? Do you have a way to inquire about that on your side, or how should we address that?
Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is right now there is not a mechanism outside of DDS's system to be able to add anyone to the list. Like there's no way to just paper add someone, correct?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
this is an ongoing issue, like if this continues, because we want to keep using this, right? And so we keep hearing about these types of things, about the only way to be able to make any changes is to log in through the system and either redo trainings or whatever else. So I will announce that Vicki Smith will be joining the Provider Advisory Committee meeting on Thursday. And there might be a fantastic opportunity for everyone to give feedback directly to the Deputy Director of DDS about this specific issue or any other of them as well. What I would ask is, Garrett, did you have any proposed fix perhaps that you might want us to consider or talk about with DDS maybe in advance of Thursday?
Well, it's hard to know without knowing how their system works on their side. So yeah, I mean, my question is not, can you add it? It's really, I know that the fix has to come from DDS. And so like, my question is that something I address with you, or is that something I go to directly to DDS about? And it sounds like that's something I go to directly to DDS about.
And Garrett, we can always double check. So we can always pull the name if you find that, and how I can have my team, Raven and Belinda, can look at the older ones and see if we can find if for some reason it was deleted by accident, or something happened. We can always double check the raw format too and see. So you can always email us.
All right, I'll email again with those names.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, again, and I think I talked to Denise about this specifically about a couple of her vendors for the FHAs, but for you specialists as well, if you can think of one of your service providers, and you're talking with them, please don't hesitate to encourage them to send DSPs to participate in the training. Again, I think having an amazingly trained workforce will do nothing but provide, amazing benefits to our clients. So, all right, enough of the DSP stipend for now. Again, can't say enough about Raven and Belinda, who have taken on so many different challenges that we've faced them with over this last year with new initiatives and things from the department. Speaking of changes, ILS rate changes. I neglected to share the DDS directive about the ILS changes at the Coffee with Community Services before the holidays. And so we're back now, and I think Michelle Duchesne is going to share the directive, and then we've got the new rates, and we're going to do our best to answer questions about it. Oh, you're muted, Michelle.
Okay. Can you see the directive there?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So yeah, I just want to review this. So this was given to us December 11th regarding the adjustments of the independent living services rate model. And it was effective January of this year. So what this did was it just added some additional funding. So while this, it says right here, I highlighted, I just wanted to kind of summarize for you guys. So the ILS rate model updated to include additional categories with duties that are more equivalent to what is provided for ILS. So while this change results in an approximate 25% increase to the rate model or benchmark rates, the actual impact of each provider's rate is dependent on the rate in effect on March 31st, 2022. So the regional centers will receive a workbook from DDS.
Wait, so let's pause real quick and make sure
Okay.
that we all have knowledge and understand this. So I'm going to try to repeat this, and then someone from ILS let me know when I'm saying incorrectly. So our understanding of this is that because the rate study now, real quickly, Michelle, can you flip over to the rate study actual amounts? Okay, so what we're talking about here is this rate study increase, right? This 25% increase. So this means that the benchmark rate that was contained in that 800-page long rate study that I've been showing you all has been updated, right? And this is the new model. So some of you are aware this is the 2020 numbers. They had the original 2018 numbers, then they updated them in 2020. So this is the 2020 numbers, and now these are the 2024 numbers down there at the bottom. That's the new rate. So when we're talking about that 25% change, however, not everyone had equal ILS rates previously. So many of you were on your way previously to the benchmark, right? Because you're going through the rate study, but not everyone was equal with that. But what should occur now is that you should be moving your way towards this new rate, this new benchmark instead of the previous benchmark. And so what Michelle just got done explaining to you all, and Michelle, if you could flip back to the directive, is that that 25% went in. That's that. And then now Michelle is going to talk about how we're going to be applying it this month.
Yeah, so the regional centers received a workbook from DDS to kind of talk about the current provider vendors and what their rates are. So that accounting has already received that. They've already processed that. So Robin and accounting just let us know that these rates have been automatically added, and so they will reflect on your January invoices. So that's kind of where we are at this time.
So Cindy True, or anyone else that I'm looking at on my camera here, when you go to bill for your February billing, your rates should be updated for the month of January. So all of January you should be at that higher rate. You should be seeing that rate increase. If you are due to receive a rate increase, you should be seeing that at the beginning of February when you go to do your January billing. Okay, ILS providers. Now, if for some reason there's an issue like that and you don't see, like you just saw that Michelle put those rates up there, right? And you don't see that you are working towards those benchmark rates and there's an issue, you need to please reach out to your fiscal assistant in accounting. We will be looking very closely at this at the beginning of next month to make sure that there was no issues applying this new part of the rate study increase. We certainly have to do this across a bunch of other service codes as well, but ILS rate fix was kind of separate and above and beyond. So, okay, questions that folks might have about that? All right. Seem to make sense? Yep. We all have new benchmark rates. We're folding those basically into the rate study. So instead of going towards the old benchmark rates like you were before, now you're moving towards the new benchmarks. All right. So as I said, Robin, we meet with her every Friday before we do this meeting in accounting, and she indicated that the POSs are all going to be updated. Excuse me, there will not be any need to update any POSs by the service coordinators. The rates will just automatically be updated when you go to pull your billing at the beginning of February for the month of January. You're welcome. All right. We figured that out, Michelle. Right on. We were a little insecure that we could explain that about an hour ago. So right on. Okay, ILS rate changes, HCBS stuff. Can we flip over to that? And I think, are we starting with Kylie first and then going to Alicia? And Kylie, do I need to make you a co-host? Let me do that just in case I need to. Kylie, we can't hear you though.
What about now?
Perfectly. Now we can hear you.
Okay,
perfectly.
thank you. All right, so I just have the grant letter that we sent out pulled up. Can you see my screen? Okay, great. Okay, so I'm just really quickly going to review this because our grant deadline for what we are accepting proposals is coming up. We are accepting proposals until the 10th. So really quickly, I'll just kind of skim through this with you. On November 19th, DDS issued a letter to notify the regional centers that we got about $15 million to assist in helping get to compliance with HCBS requirements. Our specific regional center was given about $892,000. In the letter, DDS identified priorities for the use of these funds, which are all listed right here. In our proposals, we're asking for specifics to be listed out in what you're asking for with the grant. So those are all listed in the 1 through 10. And something to note too, so far for those proposals, we've had about $2.2 million in requests. So we are accepting proposals no later than January 10th, and we will be submitting those at the end of this month to DDS for selection. And then the following weeks, DDS will get back to us with who the grants are going to be given out to. But essentially, all the grants are just helping to get in compliance with HCBS. And then in those proposals, we're just asking for information on what you want the grant to be given to. And that's all for that.
Perfect. Thank you very much. If anyone else needs a copy of that letter, please don't hesitate to reach out to HCB. What do you want it? HCBS at?
I'll put it in the chat. I can put our email, and then if you need a copy of that, and then we can also assist if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Kylie. All right, Alicia.
Hey, John. I also need to share my screen, if that's okay. 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 So I'm pulling up a flyer for HCBS Compliance Workshop. This is being hosted by Progressive Employment Concepts through previous grant funding projects. They are having 4 trainings to help connect the HCBS federal regulations with person-centered practices, so that you can sort of tie those together and help with culture shifts within your own programs. These start on January 18th, and they are free for everybody to attend through that grant funding. Each date has a different sort of topic that they're going through. It's virtual and in person here at Regional Center. I've sent out the flyer numerous times, but I just want to make sure everyone's aware because it is starting soon. We have a lot of residential providers signed up, but not many day program providers signed up. So I figured this was a good place to announce. And for more information, you can contact Kate at Progressive Employment, and they have their sign up link on the flyer, and I can send out the flyer to anyone who needs it.
Questions for folks? All right. Again, I appreciate everyone that expresses an interest in ensuring that we really have person-centered planning for our clients and the delivery of services as individualized as possible. And I know Carol and her team have definitely put a lot of efforts into this over the years. And so I feel like we have partners at the regional center now because we have so many HCBS specialists that can really assist vendors because, this is the big push. We do have the HCBS reviews that are going on amongst our providers. And can I just get a refresher? I believe our timeframes are the end of August, correct, to complete our reviews? Yep. And thus far, how many reviews have we been able to complete? Do we know?
We've each done 14.
Go ahead, Kylie. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say we're aiming to do about 14 a month each. All
right, so 14 a month each amongst our folks. I will say some folks here at Alta will find out that we're also going to be posting 2 additional positions into Scott Barr's unit effective immediately. And so that might actually get posted today for Scott to be looking at adding 2 more folks to be able to conduct these evaluations. Not everyone's going to be named an HCBS specialist. Some of you are familiar that there is special funding that was given to the regional centers to accomplish these activities. We have, I think, more HCBS specialists on staff than any other regional center, but we are going to add at least some more QA folks that can also assist conducting these HCBS evaluations during this time crunch that we have. All right. Thank you very much for that. Jordan, we have EBSH CCH vendor forum stuff.
Yes, we do. So on January 24th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. here at the Regional Center office at Harvard, we are going to have our quarterly EBSH CCH vendor forum. We will be having Miss Alicia Gauchi, our HCBS specialist, will be joining us to talk. She'll give a brief presentation about HCBS and then really open it up for questions, right? Because these advanced behavioral support homes and community crisis homes are very high level homes where clients have unique support needs. So HCBS can be unique in that setting, right? And sometimes denial of rights and things do have to occur. So we always want to make sure our vendors have as much information as they can to be prepared for those transitions. So we're grateful to have Miss Alicia come in. We're also going to be discussing, there was significant Title 17 regulation changes last year that we went over at the last vendor forum, but we really want to hear back from our vendors about how those changes are going for them, if they're running into any barriers meeting those new requirements and things like that. So should have a great discussion going.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Jordan, we are still waiting.
Yes, we are.
So we put in our plan to the Department of Developmental Services for Jordan's community placement and community resource development plans. We thought we might get a Christmas Eve message like we got a couple years ago. Sometimes DDS likes to send those things out at that time, because that's when the clock starts on when we have to do RFPs. So in this case, we haven't gotten it yet. I have not quite heard yet when the department is planning on getting it out. I would assume it's going to be sometime this month. And then at that point, we will be posting requests for proposals. We would be doing requests for proposal orientation, where Jordan's staff will go over what we're planning on developing this year, and we'll go from there. So we'll stay tuned and update folks as soon as we hear more about that. All right. About this year, one of the things that I wanted to mention earlier was just about the rate study. I had mentioned probably back in August or so that we had met with the Department of Developmental Services, and they were working for the previous 4 months before that on the crosswalk document, which was going to be how we're going to move you from one service code to another service code to finally complete the last part of the rate study implementation. It's January 5th now. We still do not have the finalized version from the Department of Developmental Services. I think it was about 2 months ago, they sent us, I guess, a warning letter that let us know how many different vendors are going to be needed to transition, but we still haven't received the guidance on how we're supposed to do it and what is required. And so with that, as soon as we have that additional information for you as service providers, we will let you know. Some of you may remember a couple years ago, like if you're a day program provider or a clinical provider, that community services specialists reach out to you, verified your rates to make sure that we were categorizing everyone appropriately. But again, we don't know what we're going to need to do, and we still have to give service providers an opportunity to determine, I believe, whether or not they're going to remain with their service code. So for example, our 055 community integration service code, or whether they're going to move to some other service code or not. And so we're still awaiting additional guidance from the department. I'm going to just keep updating you all as service providers about that, because when those activities happen, it's going to be a lot of work from our community services department, and it seems like it's going to be having to happen in a very short period of time. Additionally, just again about things that have to happen this year with the rate study. There is the 10%. There is the regional, the performance incentives for the service providers, and how all of you are going to be able to receive the final 10% of the rate study implementation rate. Again, the department has developed is a statewide database for service providers. And what has been explained to us so far is that the duties that the service providers will need to do is to log into that database and verify their vendorizations, if they're connected to other vendorizations. And once the service providers have validated their information in the statewide database, that will in essence be for the wide swath of vendors what their performance incentive activities are. For some vendors like the ARFPSHN homes, which we don't know we have any ARFPSHN providers here, adult residential facilities for people with special healthcare needs. There's other performance incentives that are tied to them reporting things to DDS, but just they were not able to come up with categories for all the vendors. And so broadly, that's I think the low hanging fruit that they are looking at doing. If there's anyone that's active with CDSA or CCLN or participates in any of those meetings with the department that has different information about that, please unmute and share it. But I believe that's the information that we have thus far. I think the hope was that we could begin those activities in January so that vendors can have a time to complete the activities in advance of us being able to issue the final part of the rate study by July 1. But again, the timeframes are just compressing. So again, we will update you as service providers about that because when the time comes and we get put on the clock to get it all done, it might mean that we need very fast responses from you all about the status of like our questions that we're going to have. Which service code do you want to move to? What are the implications going to be for your rates, etc. And providers need to be able to think about that. Jordan and I just had a meeting with a vendor, going over that specific question. And there really is a lot of thinking that you need to do. And there also is some assurances that you need from the department about what it means if you stay in that service code. I think we need that guidance. So again, just talking about, it's the first meeting of this calendar year, over the next 6 months, those are going to be big things for us as soon as we can get them going. HCBS stuff, it's already rocking and rolling. These ladies have already gone out and done their first visits. I got a fantastic picture of them all that I believe is going to make it into the newsletter for, I think, next week when our newsletter comes out. So, all right. Any questions about the service code crosswalk or the service provider incentives for the 10%? Can we get a sneak peek of the photo? Oh no, I don't know if I can. We'll have to. It'll be next Friday. Next Friday's Coffee with Community Services. Then we'll share that. Herman's the only one that's seen it. All right, let's see. There's that. Oh, and now the good news. Michelle Duchesne with Biennials.
Always the good news. Okay, hold on one second. Let me share my screen.
And first, just to really set the stage for the biennials, some of you might remember when the state auditors came and visited us a couple years ago. It was very uncomfortable. And during the course of that and the review of the report and everything else, they definitely found fault with the regional centers for failing to continue to do biennial assessments of vendor files and of vendors, making sure that we're keeping everything up to date. That really forced the department to go into action and put out some directives and some very clear guidance to the regional center about what our responsibilities are. And Michelle Duchesne has just taken a hold of that at our regional center, along with a number of staff too that have had to work on it. So I'll let Michelle take it from there about what is going on with our biennials.
Yeah, so we just finished our 2023 full biennial. So if you are a vendor where we reached out to you and you gave us all the information, congratulations. We will not bug you until 2025. So and so we're now starting in our 2024 year. So what we are doing at this time, and I'm going to share the letter, is anyone for the month that we're in for the previous year. So this month would be January. Anyone in January of 2023 that has not provided or has not submitted the documentation that we have requested will receive this letter. So let me share that. Can you see that letter, John? Thumbs up. Okay. Perfect. So this letter is pretty similar to the one that we send out when we're requesting documentation. So it just summarizes the regulation that shows us that we have to review biannually the vendor files, making sure they're current, complete, accurate, making sure we have all up-to-date documentation, certification, nothing gets expired. And we also are looking at if any services were offered in the last 24 months. And then if not, then we reach out to you guys with another letter very similar, which I'm sure many of you have seen, just asking, hey, we don't see any services being provided in 24 months. Do you still want to keep your vendorization open? And that's a simple, yes, I want to keep my vendorization open. And we just continue on and we note the file. So the last part here is kind of what I wanted to review with you guys. So if you're getting this letter, so it says Alta Regional, we are required to provide documentation, which will allow the regional center. So the vendors are required to provide documentation, which will keep the file current and up to date. Failure to provide updated documentation as requested can result in possible devendorization. So you are receiving this notice because you have been unresponsive to our requests, and that you will be contacted by your assigned community service specialist to meet and to discuss the documents that are needed to bring you current. So we are working in collaboration. Again, Raven, Belinda, and Christine Hobbs are our biennial team, and they will be the ones that will be communicating a lot with you. But at this point, when it's been a year and we're still requesting documents, we will be bringing in the specialists and even Mr. John Decker to kind of meet if needed to get these current, because it could result, that is a requirement of your vendorization, is to provide current and accurate documents. So I will stop sharing and see if, John, you had anything else to share or if we had any questions.
Just want to again underscore the reason why. For example, we have a lot of therapies that go on with our clients. It's really important that the people that are doing them, we have their updated licenses, for example. Some of you that have been around a while with our regional center have dealt with situations where vendors are no longer in compliance with their program design or with their vendorization, and we didn't find out about it through a biennial review, and it just came out during something that really impacted a client or a family. And so again, I would just really encourage folks, the way it will work out is that if someone has open authorizations, we are going to create a list of who those clients are, and we're going to inform service coordination that we're going to have to end all of those authorizations and that we're going to de-vendor you as a service provider. So in order for that to happen, like, you're going to have be invited to a meeting with me, because you're going to be putting the regional center through so much work if we have to go through doing all of that. And so if you don't have any clients, we'll de-vendor you anyways, just to, and if you want to become vendored again, then just, get back in touch with us and provide your updated documents that are required for your vendor file, and we'll go from there. But we have to close out the vendorizations for people that are non-responsive. It's just going to be us really coordinating with case management when we have open authorizations that are going on, because we can't continue to have you guys serve clients if you don't have updated licenses, updated vendor files. So we're going to put some safeguards in so we don't have to do this. We don't want people just not responding to us because they don't care about some old vendorization that they had like forever ago and no one ever uses it, because it's still a big process for us to have to close it out if you're non-responsive. So if you don't want a vendorization and it's not something that's being utilized, just respond back to us. Just respond back to us and let us know you want to close it out. We'll be happy to do that. If ever you want to do it in the future, we can always look at doing another vendorization if needed for you, but we need to close out the ones that we cannot actively use. Again, we have so many new service coordinators as well. It's very important that all the vendors that we have vendored are all ones that we can actually refer clients to. All right. Any questions about the biennials? Okay. I mentioned that we have, I'm going to go over to the events calendar actually, real quickly, because I saw that Lindsay put it in the chat. And so I want to share my screen real quickly. All right. Rhonda, are we seeing the events calendar? All right, very good. Okay, so we have upcoming meetings. We have our board finance committee on Monday, the executive committee on Monday as well. We have the client advisory committee, And then we also have our self-determination. Well, it's a busy week next week, my goodness. And then provider advisory committee. So you saw Lindsay Daiba put in the chat the information. You can click right here and go right to the Zoom meeting. We'll be doing a hybrid meeting at our office. We will be having a presentation by our dental coordinator. So Shannon will be there for this provider advisory committee meeting. I think you will all really benefit from hearing from her. I understand that during the residential vendor forum, she provided a lot of fantastic information. So I actually had a request from our managers to not only have her come to the provider advisory committee, but also come to this meeting as well to talk with this group, because we've got about 100 people logged in. We've got 90 right now. And then additionally, we're going to have Vicki Smith, who's the deputy director who oversees policy or procedure, whatever, over at DDS. She oversees a lot of the initiatives over at DDS. She'll be joining us to provide an update on the DSP workforce initiatives. That's going to go along with Lori's report. Additionally, I will be providing an update on the DSP Collaborative, website. We are looking at making some changes and looking at possible expansion. And so I want to talk with folks about the progress so far. Lindsay, is there anything else about the Provider Advisory Committee, or Garrett or anyone else that people might want to share?
I can't think of anything else. Garrett?
Who thinks the budget is going to come out after the Provider Advisory Committee meeting? I think it is. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Knowing my luck, it will come out the morning of, and then everyone's going to want to talk about it that day. And then supported living, let's see, upcoming things, supported living services. We have a vendor forum coming up at the end of January, and we've got an adult day and employment vendor forum coming up for February as well. Let's see. I'm going to stop sharing. Oh, sorry. Real quickly, and again, Lindsay or anyone else that might be familiar with this, I am told that DDS is planning on holding a webinar on Tuesday related to the DSP workforce initiatives. And I don't have any information or a link about it. I was told that it's happening on Tuesday. Anyone have that information? Would anyone be able to share that? Is anyone familiar with it?
I'm not. I have not heard
Okay.
that or seen anything come through my inbox, but I could have missed it.
I talked to Vicki Smith yesterday, and she said, oh, well, it would be a good webinar for all of your vendors to participate on Tuesday. And then when I'm there on Thursday, I'm able to, then I'll be able to answer any questions that they have about it. But I went on DDS's website everywhere, and then I looked through my emails and I don't see it. If something does come out between now and Tuesday, certainly we'll send it to folks, but also, Vicki can make all those materials available when she meets with us on Thursday of next week at the Provider Advisory Committee meeting. Let's see here. With that being said, and it is now 11:46, we've gone through our agenda items that I have for right now. So I would like to check. I saw Jennifer on, and I saw Michelle Johnson on. And so I want to check with our directors of client services to see if you guys had anything.
Hey, John, thanks for the space. I don't have anything. Good to see everybody.
Absolutely. Carly, I know we are still planning on our job career expo fair up in the Sutter Yuba area, and then we're looking at April. Do we have a save the date available yet?
No, I have a meeting with the Sutter One Stop on the 9th to nail down some details.
Okay. Excellent. So we'll be updating folks about that. One of the things at the last job fair, we talked about just the challenges of the growth in the Sutter Yuba area for our clients up there, and the challenges that they face in finding DSPs up in that area. And so we want to bring a job fair up there, and we'll be promoting that through our website as well. So very cool. We'll get more information out to folks about that in the upcoming future here, and I will go over it.
John,
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, Garrett.
Real quick, I found the link to the training on the 9th, or
Oh,
the
cool.
webinar on the 9th. It was embedded in another one about the stipend. So I'll send it over to you.
Cool. And so I will connect with Herman later actually to see if we can send that out via MailChimp to all of you service providers that might be interested in participating in that on Tuesday. Hey, I don't know, we have Herman on here. Herman, do we have anything from the training department? Any interesting, cool things going on?
Always, but not prepared to talk about succinctly and organized. I did hear Garrett's concern though about the reporting and just I know the headaches of trying to track completion of trainings, especially when it ties to funding. My hope would be I know it's all managed through the same LMS that all the regional centers use, and Maureen Wilson at Lanterman Regional Centers sort of the behind the scenes admin on generating the reports that are shared with the department. So my hope would be that there'd be a way to sort of bifurcate and identify the completion of two separate trainings. That said, I don't know for sure, but I know there's a person who's very familiar with the systems that's used to deliver the training and track the completion. So fingers crossed.
Excellent. All right.
Hey, John,
Yes.
it's Camellia. Just wanted to jump in.
Camellia, got anything good out of our intake and clinical area?
Well, I was thinking I would circle back. I know you were saying earlier about our numbers and how they continue to increase. And you're thinking, well, about 1,200 a year. I could be lowballing that. And I just shook my head and just want to confirm, yes, that's a lowball. So like last year, we brought through closer to 2,000. And I will tell you, I don't have December's final number, but in like November, we brought through 174 folks. So for the month. So just FYI, definitely over 1,200 a year, and we continue to see the increase. And so we are so grateful for our service providers as the need will continue to exist. So thank you for serving.
Yes, no problem. Yes, the 1,200, the caveat, that was net, folks. That's not how many people are coming in. That's with also people that have moved out of our area. And then obviously we have people that pass away too. But that being said, even that number, that 1,200, we used to say 900, and then we said like it was 1,000, and then went up to 1,200. And so again, it shows the longevity of people with developmental disabilities. People live longer than they live. They have better health outcomes than they had previously. We've got a wider swath of individuals that are being made eligible that have different types of both, healthcare needs and behavioral supports and all kinds of, fun therapies that are needed. And again, I think it just speaks to the importance of having all of those staff that can make people eligible. And that's, very important that all of our intake specialists that we have, but then that we also have the services to be able to serve them. There's been a lot of work done by Helen's staff and Jennifer Bloom and Camellia and her staff to expand the front end of services for people coming into our system, the kids and the evaluations. So we certainly need to keep up and do more and more of that in the upcoming years because we're just going to be trying to service a larger and larger group. So right on. Okay, I think that's what we have for folks for today. Really appreciate everyone's attendance. Look forward to talking to folks next week. Please attend the Provider Advisory Committee meeting if you want more detailed information about the DSP initiatives directly from DDS. All right, thank you very much, folks.